Part 3 of the 3 sections for the Competency 50 practice quiz. And in this video, we are still working with measures of central tendency. Number 13. What are the values of the first quartile, talking about the first one, for the following group frequency distribution? Well, what we need to do to begin is add up the total for the frequencies right here, add them all up, and then divide by 4, and that will give us our first row, the row we need to work with. So let's add all those up. 4 plus the 10 plus 8 plus 12 plus 9 plus 11 plus 6. Okay, so that gives us 60. So this is 60 divided by 4. What do we get? All right, divide by the 4, and we get 15. Okay, so that tells me we need to be right about here in the third row, and that's going to give us that 15. So we need 1 out of 8. Remember, we're working with the first quartile. Okay, and our lower boundary, not our limit, again, remember that. We need the lower boundary, so that will be 23.5. And remember the difference in that if you didn't catch it or you haven't done it in a while, depends on where you're watching my videos and other videos. Oh, sorry about that. Sorry. I wanted to highlight that and it didn't do that. Okay. 24 is the limit. And where I wrote right here, the 23.5, that's a half less. That is the boundary, and that's what we need to work with. So what do we need to do? Well, before we can do anything, we need to know what is our class width, and that will be 7. Remember, you must include the lower and upper boundary. Well, if you put your fingers up literally and say 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, you will see that that is 7 values. So it's our class width is 7. So let's do this. What is the formula? It is the lower boundary, 23.5. Add it to the width times this fraction of this particular frequency row, the row. What fraction do we need of that row to catch the first 15 values? That's really how you need to see it. Okay, so we have 1 out of 8. Now let's put that in a calculator and see what value we actually have. Okay, we have 24.5. Add that. I like to use parentheses. And 7 times the 1 divided by 8, 1 out of 8 that we need. Push enter. And we get option D, which is exactly what we need. Okay. Now, this looks like a question 14. I don't think we need our calculator for this. I think we just need to know our properties and our vocabulary. 14. Which of the following does not correspond to one of the 5 key elements used in constructing a box plot? Okay. Well, what we just used was a quartile. Well, I had to use a median. Okay, so that is used. I had to go to where the median value, the row it would be. So we know we need median, and it says not used. So we do use median. And we have a lower value. Always have a lower and high, a low and a high value at each end of the whisker, so that's not it. Okay, and we have a third quartile, a first quartile, a second quartile. So the only thing not included is median. And there are questions that I have seen where they want to know, they'll ask it in a way. This is a very simple, very low rigor question, but you would get, they would probably like have a comparison with 2 box whiskers and they'd embed something about a question, involving mean. And what you would have to come up with what is in those comparisons that we can't compare the mean. We have to compare the other things. Okay. That being said, let's move on to number 15. Okay. What is the sample standard deviation for the following data? Remember, that will not be that deviation. We are going to have the S of X, I do believe. So let's put this in the calculator and see what we get. Okay, that means you push stat. It's highlighted on edit because we're going to edit our list, okay? So I'm going to go up. That's where I used it earlier. And I'm going to remember, I'm highlighting L1, pushing clear. Don't push anything else but clear to get rid of your values, okay? All right, so I have 8, 9, 16, 20, 31, and let's enter 42. So we should have 6 values. Yes. Now what do? Make sure you back out, okay? Then stat, arrow over. You want number 1 highlighted right there. 1 vars, push enter. We are using L1. Remember, there is no frequency distribution when you're using that list on its own. So let's keep going and calculate. And there we go. It's our SX. That means our sample deviation. The median, remember, is used up here, which would be 21. That's your X bar. We want our SX, our sample X, our sample deviation, okay? That means we want the 13. And rounded, that is option D. Okay, let's keep going. Number 16, what is the sample variance for the following grouped data? Now, remember, sample variance, we will take the standard or the sample deviation and square that. So we will be looking for, on the calculator, S of X squared. That's what it's going to look like, how it's represented in the calculator. Okay, so what do we need? We need to take all of these middle values, and they will be L1, and this will be L2, the frequency list. So let's go over and do that. Well, let me tell you how to start. Okay, the size of our variance, that's the class width, not variance, excuse me, the class width. Well, we have 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So that is 5. So we know that the center value of between 12 and 16, well, that will be 14. And then if we add 5 onto each of those, that gives us 19, and then 24, and then 29. Okay? So that will be our L1, and then we have our L2. So let's do that. Let's go stat, and we want number 1 because we're editing our list. And I have already pre-entered those for us. Okay, let's double check. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 rows. Yes, 6, 7, 4, 3, and then 14, 19, 24. Yes, we're good. So back out. Then we go to stat, go over to calc. We're going to calculate our 1 var stat, push enter, and we are using the frequency list. So we have L1 and L2 already pre-populated. And now push your enter, and we get what we need. Okay, but don't just write that down and then try to go back and put it in your calculator. We're not going to do that. Remember, we see our value, our SX. So what do we do with that? You need to, it works. You don't always have to back out. It will work in this case. I like to go ahead and back out, but you need VARs. Number 5, where it says statistics, it will list everything out separately. So let's push our number 5. And as you can see, we need that number 3. Push enter, then go to your X squared and push enter again. And you see we round, and that gives us the proper it's close. We're rounding, so it's what they asked. Okay, we would round up to the nearest value. It all depends on the answer options and how they ask it, but at least this is the process. Okay, all right. So let's go to number 17. All right, what does this say? You're gonna have to remember a few things about uh, what actually is happening. Okay. All right, let's do this. In a given group of individual numbers, the mean is 9. Now that's important. Okay. And notice we don't have the numbers. And the standard deviation is 5. Okay. Each number is multiplied by 6. Okay. And subtract by 2. Which one of the following is correct concerning the new group of numbers created by the linear transformation? Okay, this kind of question you will be asked, and it will often come up on when you are at the university and you have to take the practice test. Okay, so they will ask you what they'll do is say there is grades, and that the grades basically are they don't. The way that my question was asked, they didn't say it was a curve, but they said that the scores needed to be adjusted, and they multiplied by 2.5, I think, and then they subtracted I forgot how much, or added, to shift the curve up, I suppose. Okay, that being said, when you're dealing with the mean, which is X bar, okay, that's what they want here first. The mean, you just do the process you have, okay? This is the given process. And that, of course, is the mean. So what would you do? To get the new mean, you would have to take, okay, the 9, and you will be multiplying it by 6, and then you will be subtracting 2, and that will give you your new X bar or mu, depending on how it's asked. Okay, it all depends. And you will need to know this. It will not be given to you in this numerical form completely. We'll have another question when we add to these videos. They will use the word mean, and they'll say times 6. For me, it was 2.5, whatever, just whatever. So that becomes, I'll put it in the calculator, but it is 52. Okay, so we have 9 times the 6 minus the 2. In order of operations will properly be captured, and we have 52. So we get rid of this. Okay, now, standard deviation, or rather variance, that's not going to happen. Okay, all right, and I have other videos with this. We take, for mean, the 6 is as is. But when you go to the variance, your sample variance, that is squared. You see here, it is squared. So what does this mean? That means you take your 5 times 6 squared. There will be no other adding or subtracting. We're just working with what changes the variance, and that's important. Okay, and I missed that the first time I took a sample test. Not my best moment. Okay, I was really upset with myself when I left the building. Like, you silly. Why did you do that? Okay, so let's do it. We're going to do it correctly. 5 times the 6 squared. There we go. 108. And now we know that that's the option. And we could have seen very quickly that 30 would not. There's no way, because then your 6 wouldn't be squared. Okay, so we've done it correctly. That is the 180. Okay, this is the last series in this practice quiz for Competency 15. Remember, please, please, please subscribe if you're using our videos, and share us with other people. Give us a like so we know we're doing okay. And remember, this material will always be free, and we do have more Google Forms coming in the future for every single competency. And happy testing.